and it is my real pleasure to welcome our guest today, Bill Franklin, a longtime friend and colleague. We'll have to figure out how long we've been colleagues. I'm trying to remember.
Then that'll make us too old, Jim. Let's not do that.
It was several organizations ago.
Yes.
But, yeah. And president of the Npma, if I didn't already mention that. Been heavily involved in ASTM standards and led that organization for a number of years. Awesome. So, Bill, we usually, well, first, welcome. And it's really good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, in your bustling office there. And where are you calling from today?
I am located in Danville, Virginia, which is in the southern, we call it the South Side, which is right on the border of North Carolina.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And we'll have to hear the story sometime of, well, maybe right now. How'd you end up in Danville? How'd that happen?
Noblis, I work for Noblis, and Noblis has a site here. We have a data center here in Danville that supports our clients. And we ended up here because a vice president many years ago made a deal with a state senator to bring a technology company to the south side of Virginia. The south side of Virginia was heavily invested in textiles and tobacco. And so when the tobacco companies made the huge settlements with the states, for all the health reasons and stuff for tobacco, the state of Virginia decided to use that some of that money and bring new industry to the south side. And we started with a Cray supercomputer, which has now been gone for probably about 2 years. But in our data center, we have 4 other supercomputers that are only a third of the size of the first one we had here. And we've due to COVID, the office is empty except for me, but we have 25 people here, all local to this area, supporting Noblis and the clients that we have. So that's how they asked for volunteers to come down. I was an empty nester, my wife and I. So we got out of the rat race of Northern Virginia and came down to Danville.
Yeah. Your dollar probably goes a little further in Danville than it does in Vienna or Fairfax, huh?
That Northern Virginia dollar goes a little further in Danville, yes.
You're the site manager, is that right? Did I see that on your site?
Yeah, I'm the senior person here.
Wow.
Yeah, we do a lot within the community. We support the school system. We support the local food bank here. Danville is actually a big player here. I mean, Noblis is a big player here in Danville. So it's a welcoming community and growing. We have one of the only casinos coming to Virginia. Will be located in Danville. So
wow.
Caesars is sponsoring it. So yeah.
Nice. Well, so that's part of your story, but we usually start with an origin story. So, how'd you get started in asset management? How'd that get you to sitting where you are today?
Lord of mercy. That was way back in 1995. I've been working with the MITRE Tech Noblis family now for 40 years. And back in 95, yeah, 40 years, crazy. Back in 95, they were actually looking for someone to do nothing but equipment disposal in our property department. And I was looking for a new position within the company, and I thought, sure, I'll take it. And I don't know if it was a mistake at the time, but it's turned out to be something good. And so I've been involved with the asset management property world since 95 and 96. MITRE Tech Noblis split from MITRE and became our own company. So I went with the new company, to run their asset management department. And, I'm still here today, involved in a lot more than asset management, because as most of us know who are involved in this world, if you're good at doing one thing, then the company pulls you in to do other things that in order to fix stuff. So we also run their business continuity program out of here, their travel program out of here, credit card program out of here, stuff like that. But that's my story. And then I think it was 2007, Jim, that I became involved with standards, because you and Lyle Hesterman were teaching an introduction to standards, certification class for Npma. And that's how I became involved with standards and part of that group. And as Jim mentioned, I went from just being a member up the roles of the executive thing to the chairman for 2 terms, and then worked my way up the roles through Npma and somehow became president. And
How'd that happen?
I wonder to this day sometimes, but now that so it's been from 95 till now working through this and seeing things change and grow, and still happy with it, still glad to be involved.
That's good. And it's a great company to work for. Everybody knowing that's worked there is just crazy about both MITRE Tech, Noblis, all
Right.
those companies. Once anybody's there, they don't leave. And it's like 40 years. How do you that's stunning. My record's 7 years, I think, with any company. So, actually, well, I'm about there with ALN now. Oh, I don't know. Better watch out.
Well, you'll go beyond 7 years there. So
I better.
Yeah.
So you brought up 2 of the things that I wanted to talk about today. Okay. And so one, let's start with the ASTM standards. And I remember those classes. We had put out a number of standards that come out, and we put together a class for the Npma, and it was pretty intensive. I think we had 3 one-week sessions or something like that. I mean, it was a lot.
It was a lot.
But we talked about the content of the class, but the class also involved learning how to write a standard, and one of the products of the class was a draft standard.
Yes.
I was like, that was such a good program, but unfortunately, we never had enough people to continue the program going forward. I guess 2008, and there was no travel money, and then where to go after that. But I did notice that from that class has provided the leadership for ASTM E53, much of the leadership for E53 for the last, 15 years or whatever since. Yep. So what are your thoughts about ASTM standards and how they fit into what you do and what you've learned from them, or wherever you want to go?
Yeah, I think standards has actually, if I look at standards as the foundation of everything you build on, right? And that's how I've always looked at them since we took your class. Because if you don't have something to build upon, then your house falls apart and everything just goes to hell. So standards are the foundation that people should be looking at and building their policies, their procedures, whatever it is they need. And they're extremely important in our world, especially because, as you know, depending on who you talk to a dozen different people about even something simple as a property inventory, you'll get a dozen different answers. Mm-hmm. So what standards do is they focus us into one consensus idea of what a property verification should be, or what a self-assessment should be, or any part of our world of asset management. It focuses us into all agreeing and sort of going down the same path. It doesn't mean we can't go into little different directions, but it helps us go down the same path. And it gives us a standard, a common language to talk about. So, I always tell people, and I still do, even though I'm not as involved with it as I used to be, that if you're not at least a member of ASTM E53, then you're losing out. Your company's losing out, you're losing out, our organization is losing out. Npma is losing out because you're not a member of that group. And as you know, what started from just simple standards as how to do an inventory and how to do this and how to do that has now sort of blossomed into standards that cover a whole range of things that we never would have thought about back in 2007. So the fact that it's still growing, and the fact that it's still evolving, and the fact that ASTM has embraced us and still continues to embrace us, because let's face it, we're sort of an anomaly in that ASTM world of a standards body. We're not trying to talk about how to make football helmets safer or skis safer or any of that, or we don't do testing to make tires grip the road faster and that type of stuff. I think they're extremely important. I have them all in my my policies and procedures are based on those standards. It's written in my procedures, which standards we use. And we continue to do breakout sessions, Jim, you know, like at NES and our seminars. And actually Cinda, Dave Barter, and I did a great breakout session of, it was like 6 sessions in a row of how to write a standard, and 2 new standards came out of that.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, so we still try to push it, but I always tell us, and I tell our members, if you're not involved in it, then you're losing out.
Well, it costs a lot of money to join, right?
Well, I think it's still $75.
Yeah, right. And for that, you get all the standards.
You get all the standards, you get all the involvement, your voice is heard. It's the best $75 anyone professionally will spend. You know,
Nice.
That's what I think.
So before we get to the Npma, have you had any involvement with ISO 55000 and given that any thought?
You know, not beyond what you guys did way back when, truthfully. I mean, I've read the standard. I haven't been involved with it. I've watched how, and this is why I say I look at ASTM E53 and see how it's evolving. And, you know, I wish the new infrastructure standard that has come under ASTM E53, of course, is due to ISO 55000, right? So it's sort of, it's a product, a child of it, whatever you want to call it. It's been birthed from ISO 55000, and it's in our committee as a standard. So to support what ISO 55000 says. So I see that as an evolution of our, what we thought E53 would be, and then what it's becoming. I just, you know, I look at that and I just sort of blows my mind that we're reaching that level.
Yeah, it's, you know, I think from an ALN perspective, you know, the only thing holding us back is our conception of what it is we're able to do. But we're, you know, just getting, you know, and we're really promoting asset management and asset leadership. But, you know, the visibility we've gotten, especially with GAO and some of the federal agencies, you know, and other people's involved in ISO 55000 and the other, you know, the ASTM E53 standards, is just a huge part of it. It's, you know, one of the things people say is, well, the best way to adopt 55,000 is if you just really want to do it. And I said, I'm thinking, well, in the government contractor world, it's not going to happen until it's a requirement. It's just not going to happen. You know, what do you think would happen if you got a new contract that came out and there was a requirement built in to be compliant with ISO 55000?
I will tell you, the only reason we're compliant now with ISO standards that we have in place is because they were required in contracts. They were required as part of the bid proposal process. And the question was, are you ISO compliant with whatever standard was listed there? And then Noblis went out and got compliance within those standards. I mean, let's face it, just the E53 standards, the only reason they're, you know, the committee's as good as it is because FAR, right? There was language in the FAR under the government property clause that says contractors will follow and use, you know, best practices and standards. And that's what drove those, really, the development of those standards. So in the contractor world, on the government side, if it's included in a contract and it gives you points in your response to a proposal, you're darn right the company is going to go after that ISO certification. I mean, that's what drives it. You know, that's what drives it. Yeah, it's a nicety to have if you want to go after it, but until there's a cost, you know, to it, like not winning a contract based on somebody who has ISO 55000 certification and someone who doesn't, there's the implication that you're not going to win because of that. It's companies will go after it.
All right, so let's switch to talking about Npma. How long have you been involved in Npma?
I've been involved in Npma since 1996.
Yeah.
So I got into property in 1995. I went to my first NES in 1996, which was held in Washington, D.C. at that time.
Yeah.
And Jim Coyle, who was my manager, forced all of us to become members. We didn't go willingly, but forced all of us to become members. So I've been there since 1996. Didn't do very much in my first few years. Was part of the Nova chapter. And then, over the years, got involved with the leadership within the chapter, which took me to leadership within the region, which took me to, leadership on the board in the position I hold now, to executive vice president, now president. So I've seen a lot of changes as you, as a member, a long-term member to Npma. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been so long. Doug Getz is retiring.
I know.
By the way, Doug's going to be the guest in a couple weeks. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Looking forward to that. See, a couple of times you've mentioned NES, so I know what that means. But we probably have some people on that wonder, what that jargon is. So
Right.
What's that about?
So NES is the Npma's National Education Seminar, which is held once a year. It's really our flagship. That's the way I look at it, right? We have a spring seminar and fall seminar also, but the National Education Seminar is truly Npma's flagship. It's what we stand on. It's where we bring all the people together who are experts in their field. It's a 4-day event, and it includes normally almost close to 100 sessions, with general sessions also thrown in there, but it's our flagship. It's where we all come together as a group to discuss, share, learn. It's great. It hurt me so bad that we had to cancel it last year in 2020. We're moving forward with this year. It's going to be in Reno. We hope to have it. We know numbers will be low, but we have a lot of members emailing us saying that they really want to go, that they're willing to go. And so 200, 300, we're still going to have it and push forward with it. Virtual is great, but after a while, having virtual seminars is just not the same thing. And Jim knows, as a long-term member of an Npma, we like to see each other. And whether we see each other with a mask on or not, at least we're seeing each other.
I always thought of it as a gathering of the clan,
Yeah.
like who's, and the same people come back year after year. I know I used to, on my, whatever I put my, performance appraisal stuff together, and they'd say, well, what training do you want this year? And I always put Npma, National Education Seminar. I said, if you don't let me go, I can't do this job. Yeah, I got to go.
Right.
And then I discovered the trick is, oh, can I, submit to be a presenter? And they go, oh yeah, sure. See how that goes. And then I was just always, submit as whatever I needed to make sure I was instructor. And I go, oh, well, now I got to go.
That's right. That's right. We actually have a good contingent from DCMA who've signed up already to be presenters this year. Which is good signs for us that maybe the government is going to allow people to travel. We're sort of running into people, or not people, but more like corporations still sort of leery to let their people go to something that's not directly client related, but is professional development related. But we have hopes. We're going to hold it and see who shows up to the party. And I won't say party, I mean to the professional development learning opportunities, and see who we see.
And normally there's like what, 600 or 700 people in a normal year that show up?
Yeah. 600 is probably the average. I mean, of course, when we were in Nashville, it was close. It was over 700. The location sometimes the draw. Chicago was a really good year for us. The last one we had in Washington, D.C. was a very good year for us. And then we were going to be in Dallas in 2020 and had to cancel that. So
and I don't know what it is now, but it used to be that a quarter of the membership of Npma was within like 2 hours drive of Washington. Just a huge percentage.
And you're still correct. Nova, Fed Center, Harbor Lights are still the big three. chapters within the organization. And then, of course, the Eastern region still has double the number of chapters of the other 2 regions. So, yeah.
Nbma has funny geography. It divides the nation up into 3 regions, and half of it is the Eastern region. And west of the Mississippi is cut down the middle. So
Yeah, that's
I
a
never
lot, isn't it?
understood that, but hey.
No, I actually have a team looking at that. So
We tried to get rid of the regions when I was on the board and replace them with the special interest groups, but that idea didn't go the direction that many of us wanted it to. So, I know that's kind of
no, but that's the great thing about Npma is that we're open to trying new things, right? To see if they work. And if they work, we'll adopt them and push them forward. But if they don't work, okay, we'll do something else to help support our members. That's the flexibility we have.
So speaking of, and it's not a new thing, but it's only been around a few years, this is Asset Leadership Month. Is that right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Asset Management Awareness Month, right? Started by Jessica DeZara several years ago when she was Vice President of Administration membership. So she started this. We had our first seminar today. So what we do is that we host a free seminar every week for our members and do some fun things. I think this year I'm looking at they have a Asset Management Awareness Month crossword puzzle contest, which we give out prizes. But again, it's actually, I don't know the name of the organization, but it's truly someday this month is declared Asset Management Day. And I have to figure out, she got it, Jessica got it registered as Asset Management Day on a calendar. So I'll have to find out when that is. But it's something we've done over the past few years. It's a big hit with our members. It's the free seminars. This year we have 5 because it's a 5-week month. So we have 5 free webinars for all of our members to come into. Registration for the webinars has been great. We had close to 300 people on today's webinar.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we're hitting good numbers with these webinars this month. And I don't know if it's because we've had to cancel all of our seminars for the past year. And so people are trying to get information, and stuff. But this is going to be a really, really big month for Asset Management Awareness Month. A lot of work goes into the planning. Doug Getz is doing some of the webinars for us. But we have Peter Collins, Yvonne Batcher, Amanda Jensen did hers today on contracts. So it's a variety of subjects for all of our members, because not all of our members are DoD centric, right? We have members who are higher education and healthcare and state and local. So we try to provide something for all of our members. But the registration numbers this year are very, very good.
That's awesome.
So we're excited.
It's one of the amazing things to me about the Npma is, as you mentioned earlier at the national seminar, of having over 100 presenters, 100 presentations. It's like, it's really stunning amount of content from just a remarkable number of people. And I think it really has helped the Npma. It certainly helped my career doing presentations for all those years.
Yeah, and so we try to make sure there's, again, not just DoD centric, but we provide professional development classes. We provide leadership classes. We try to do a nice cross section so that you're just not coming to learn how to do a property verification self-assessment. You're also learning how to get yourself to the table so you can hear about all the proposals coming through town or all the contracts are coming, how to get yourself to the next level of your career. That's what we try to provide.
Yeah, I often say, I can't imagine my career without the Npma. Just the people I knew and the connections. And, one of my mentors was Bernie Bartel. And I remember, he was directly responsible for me getting at least 2 positions where he just said, he was doing a physical inventory verification for someone. And he said, for CSC. And then he said, you need to hire Jim Dieter. And they did. You can't beat that.
No, and like any group, it's what it is, whatever you make of it. So if you come and you want to get involved, there's plenty of room for involvement. From the chapter level up to the region, up to the national. And as Jim said, we have opportunities, for you to present on whatever subject you're the expert of, right? So there's tons of opportunities to present and to hone your craft. So we're not just here to tell you how to tag an item. We're here to make sure you have the skills and the knowledge and the fortitude to take your career to the next level.
Yeah, nice. So what do you see? What is next for Bill, and what's next for the Nbna? What can we expect in the future?
Well, we need to get through this COVID thing, there's always everyone knows the downside of COVID. How it's interrupted business, how it's interrupted the normal processes of any organization that's out there. The upside is we've really had to push our virtual footprint, right? We could no longer do in-class instruction. We had to go totally virtual for instruction. So we're actually amping up our game with a new learning management system that will help our instructors and our students, take their classes online. I will tell you, Jim, everything we've offered online is filling up. All the certification reviews and whatever classes we're offering, they fill up because the development dollars from these corporations didn't go away. It's the travel dollars that went away.
Yeah. Okay.
So people still need professional development opportunities. So we're looking to expand our virtual footprint. I think that you may, besides the seminars, you probably won't see too much in-class teaching, unless it's bracketing a seminar date where people are already coming. The day of sending one of our instructors out to Herndon, some hotel, and expecting 30 people to show up for certification reviews is probably actually gone, because I can get them online and do the same thing, and they don't have to travel. So we're looking at that. We're looking at how to, we joked about the regions, but we're truly looking at that chapter region structure and is it viable for the next 5 years, type stuff. So we've got a lot of fires going and a good board with a lot of new faces.
That's good.
To keep that way.
Hey, Bill, I don't want to cut you off, but I know that some of our viewers may have to get off at this point. So I just want to thank them for showing up today and, quick flash our sponsor slide to, again, say that we're really grateful for these members, that what we're doing here would not be possible without them. And quick put in a little plug for Cecilia Moat next Thursday at 4. She will be our guest, and we're very excited to talk with her. Other than that, we have a few questions for you, and I'm not sure. Did you answer Jim's question about what's next for you? I didn't want to cut you off there.
Oh, what's next for me? Probably retirement. I'm closer than, so. But also just making sure the Npma is set up. We celebrate our 50th anniversary last year, right? And we couldn't do it in person, again, which really hurt me. But making sure that we're set up for the next 5-10 years down the road for the next board members to be able to come in and keep it going. So, that's my whole goal right now, is to make sure we have things set up to keep it going.
Awesome. We had a question from Peter Kohler. He says, do you agree standards equal an agreed approach to documenting human knowledge?
I think it depends on who writes the standard. It should, right? Because if you're doing the standard correctly, you should have a large enough body of people and knowledge that bring it all together and documents a cohesive process to get somewhere. So yes, it should, but you got to make sure that there's enough people involved in the process. So it's just that knowledge isn't narrowed.
Awesome.
Speaking of the marvels of the modern world, and Peter Kohler, of course, is calling from Australia. So that's good. Hi, Peter.
Cool.
Another question from an anonymous attendee was, what is the Npma doing to recruit more private sector company members? And this is in parentheses, people affiliated with organizations that have no direct association with the federal government or participate in federal government contracts.
Yeah, that's one of the big things we're working on, right? Looking at other groups that obviously are involved in asset management and property. You know, our footprint with state and local is very small. Our footprint with just hospitals, schools, or anyone who has in that part is very small. And so we need to broaden it. And so we're looking at, you know, and the thing is, we could go out there and say, join, 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 but we have to have some content for them to join and learn from. So that's the big thing. So we're looking at the content that we have and seeing who we can bring in and how we can build that content. Because if you have the content, then the people will come. If all you're focused on is Department of Defense or federal agencies, then why should they join? So that's like my big approach to see how we're going to keep going for the next 5 and 10 years. Isn't just with the government. It's with the whole world of asset management and property out there. So good question. Know that we're working on it, and you know, just watch our website for updates.
Awesome. We had a question from next week's guest, Cecilia Moet, and she said, what are the issues and opportunities that you see with the new administration and their focus on equity? You mentioned the reality that contractors do what enables them to win projects. Are there standards that you're promoting that include diversity, inclusion, and equity that might provide an advantage?
Truthfully, I will tell you that I am new to that world. You know, that has all been, that diversity, inclusion, those are terms that have just come, you know, they've been there, right? But they have now floated to the top over the past year. It's something I need to look into. It's something that Npma board needs to look into. You know, I don't think we have anything that doesn't allow it, but I'm not sure we have anything that promotes it. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's something we all have to look at. So unfortunately, I don't have a strong answer for you. It's just something that we're all working in hand to figure that out.
We appreciate.
Npma is pretty diverse, though, in terms of you know, just anecdotally showing up for seminars and things like that. You know, I think, you know, it started off, it was mostly old white guys, of course, and then, you know, then there was always some women, and then more women, and then we, you know, started to get, you know, more minorities, you know, more blacks, more, you know, Native Americans, more, you know, Asians, and younger people. I think was a great, you know, more and more younger people coming in, so that you can see them, you know, carrying it forward. So I think you're probably doing a good job without knowing.
And that's why I say I don't think we're doing anything to prevent it, but it seems to be a focus right now, and no matter what organization you're working in, and maybe we need to pay a little bit more attention to make sure that we're not doing anything unintentional to block, right? And I don't know how you write a standard for that. So it's you know, it comes down to being ethical and your morals in the end. So I don't know.
Bill, we appreciate the honesty, and maybe we should all tune in next week to talk to Cecilia Moet. I'm sure she's got a ton of ideas. She's very passionate about this and a true expert in the field. So that should be really exciting. And we have one more question that I'm seeing here, Bill, if you have time. Yeah. What does the ALN and the Npma work on together, or do they work together?
I don't know. We'll need to talk to Jim. You know, that we have had in the past, and we continue at our seminars and even in our property professional magazine, right? Support ISO 55000. We talk about it. We have breakout sessions about it. Steve Holland did a great article on it, in our Property Professional magazine, which goes out to all of our members. So we certainly support it. It is certainly part of what we need to teach and provide as a service to our members. Beyond that, Jim and I will have to talk.
I can tell you one way, and maybe this should be a year that we can talk about doing more. But the Federal Center chapter that's located here in DC, and is largely people that work for federal agencies as opposed to government contractors, has long been a supporter and a participant in our fall events at the National Academy of Sciences and other places. People like Lynn Brown and others have helped us, in fact, procure places to have some of our events when we couldn't have them at the National Academy of Sciences, and provided speakers and panelists. So, at the chapter level, we've been doing that. We'd love, of course, find ways to, and there's some conversations going on now about some training opportunities and things like that we're talking. So,
yeah, I have a meeting next week with Christina on that.
Oh, great. Yeah, good. Super people you have. So let me say, Bill, thanks a lot. That was a great interview from my perspective, and hope people found it interesting, and look forward to talking some more, and give you a chance to say goodbye, and we'll turn it back over to Nick.
All right. Well, again, thanks for the opportunity. I'm always a cheerleader of Npma and ASTM E53 and the use of standards. So once again, thanks. This has been great. Enjoyed it.